Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea and Stories. This is Mama Carla Wiley and Storytelling Irma Hammond Gardner.
Garden
I
Ham.
always get it back. Do I always get it
You
backwards?
always say it backwards, but that's okay. I'll answer. I'm storytelling Irma. Mama storytelling Irma.
And
Yeah,
you know what? That's because that's my sissy, and I just call her Irma.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
Um, Today's Tea and Stories are going to center around second chances and what it means to be forgiving and loving. In February, which is Black History Month, but it is also the month of love. Mm-mm-mm. And since I was born in the month of love,
Yes.
I
Yes.
get a I understand love a little bit better than most folks do. And it's funny that the month of love is the shortest month of the month, shortest month of the year, right?
Mhm.
But it's because people think that love is a simple thing, but love isn't. Love can be extremely complicated. Sissy's gonna start out. She's gonna do her. So I'm gonna let you take it away, Sissy, and you can explain your story to all of them.
Yes, everybody, welcome. This is a love story about an old couple, and it's a story about second chances. It has a lot in it. It's a little long, but I want you to listen to everything and I want you to think about it because I'm going to ask you a question in the end. Okay? This is a story of Zed and Sarah. Zed and Sarah were an older couple and they lived by the edge of the woods. Now, they didn't have much, but they were thankful for what they had. They had a little house and they had flowers in the back, and sometimes Sarah would do baking and sewing for other people because they were retired. And Zed liked to go in the woods and just explore and bring back all kinds of things. Now, next door to them lived a man named Mr. Tahini. Now, this was the worst neighbor you could have. He was both nosy and greedy. He always looked out the window to see what people were doing, and then he would compare them to himself. He had a big old house, and he would thump around in that house all by himself. And he said, look at Zed and Sarah. They're as poor as church mice. They don't have what I have. I have bread and meat and clothes, and I can have a party anytime I want, but I don't want to. It's all for me, me, me. You see what kind of person he was? He was just selfish and greedy. But Zed and Sarah weren't like that. They had what they needed, and they were thankful. The only thing that they didn't have that they had wanted for years was a baby. God didn't bless them with a baby, and now they were up in age, and there was not a chance of them getting a baby. One day, Zed went out into the woods. It was a hot day, one of those hot August days, and he was just out there and he was sweating and sweating. And he said, Lord, would you just please send me a breeze? So he sat down on this log and the Lord sent him a breeze. But God always does more than you ask him for. He always also sent him a beautiful bird that Zed had never seen before. It was beautiful blue and yellow and orange and gold, and it just flew around and it mesmerized Zed. It went from perch to perch to perch to perch, and Zed just followed him and couldn't take his eyes off of him. Well, the bird led him to this place where there were two big mountains, and through that mountain ran a stream. It was such a beautiful stream. The water was so clear and perfect that Zed thought, oh, I'd just like to have just one handful of it. But he felt like it belonged to the bird. He didn't speak bird talk, and the bird evidently didn't speak his talk, but they communicated somehow. And he asked the bird in his, mind, can I have a drink of water? And the bird said, one, one, one. And that meant one. So Zed cupped his hand and he bent over and he got a drink of water and he fell out flat on the ground. Oh my God. He thought that he had been asleep for hours, but it was only 10 minutes. But he woke up, he felt wonderful. He felt like he was young again. Oh my goodness, he looked at his hands and his hands looked new. He looked at his feet and they did too. And he started running in place and he felt energetic and he felt his face and oh, he was just so happy. And he just ran home. He ran home to Sarah because he ran home and told Sarah everything. Well, when she opened the door, she jumped back and she said, Zed, is that you? And he said, woman, what's the matter with you? I just left here a few minutes ago. I'm your husband for all these years. And she said, Zed, have you seen yourself? He said, no, but I just feel so great. I went out there and I had some water. I saw this bird and he was just going on and on. And she said, look at yourself in the mirror. So she went and got what they call the looking glass and held it up to his face. And he started laughing. Woo, hallelujah. Woo, look at me, look at me, look at me. Because you see, his face was as smooth as a baby's behind. Not a wrinkle. His hair was full like it used to be. Not a gray piece in it. He looked like a 25-year-old and he had all this energy and he was just laughing and rejoicing and hallelujah. And Sarah, she just stood with her hand on her hip like, that might be good for you, but I'm not gallivanting around with a 25-year-old looking man. What about me? Because, oh, babe, you know I was not going to leave you out. I was going to bring you to it, too. You're going to get it. It'll be fine for you. Yeah, sure. Well, let's go then. He said, oh, no, you couldn't keep up with me now. You know, I can run. I can run like a cheetah. She said, well, don't do that on me. He said, let's get a good night's sleep, and we'll start out early in the morning. Well, that night, they could hardly sleep. They were tossing and turning and popping up and popping down. As soon as the sun was high in the sky, they both jumped up, washed up, and got ready to go on their journey. She said, well, Zad, do you think it'll really work for me? Oh, woman, ye of little faith. If it worked for me, it'll work for you. God would not bless me without blessing my helpmeet. All right, Zad. So they started out. It was 1 foot forward and 2 steps back. 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Because Sarah could hardly keep up with Zed. He had so much energy. But finally they got there. And the stream was just as beautiful as he had explained it to her. Well, she looked and she said, Zed, I hope this works. Come on, woman. It's going to work. I'm going to be right here for you. So she bent down with her little athletic hands and took a drink of water and fell out flat on her back. Well, while she was sleeping, Zed had his arms crossed and he was just watching his honey. And she had smiles on her face because she was dreaming. She was dreaming of all the times that she had had with family and friends, the parties, the food. She dreamed about when she first met her handsome husband. She dreamed and dreamed, and she was having such a good time in her sleep. And finally, she dreamed of this baby. This baby was wrapped in a green cloak. And she somehow knew that that was her baby. She couldn't see its face. But in this dream, she was rocking this baby. And she was feeling so good. And then she woke up. Wow. She was giggling like a schoolgirl. She was just so happy. And you know how when you have on one of those wide skirts and you turn around and you say, whee! She did that. Well, her hair was locked down to her shoulders. Face smooth. And guess what? They both had their chompers back. Yes, full sets of teeth. You know that ain't nothing but a miracle. Nothing but a miracle. Well, because teeth are important too. They could eat steak again. Well, they frolicked around in that wooded area for a long time, just dancing and laughing and just, living it up. And then Sarah got this idea. She said, Zed, why don't we go home now? There's some unfinished business I want to do. Now, I don't know what she's talking about. But they skipped through that forest hand in hand. Now, they had to go through Mr. Tahini's property to get home. Well, he was right there looking out the window. That's that Zed and Sarah. I know it's them because they got on them raggedy clothes, just poor as church mice. And then he looked closer as they got closer, and he saw that there was something different about them. They looked younger. They had energy. He said, I wonder what they did. I wonder where they got that. They looking all young and everything. What happened? They said, it was me. What happened to them? Oh, that bothered him so bad because he didn't want anybody to have anything that he didn't have. You know people like that? If you look different, it must be something wrong. And they got to find out. They got to get what you got because you can't outdo them. Oh, so it bothered him so bad he hardly slept that night. Now, he wasn't the kind of man to go visit his neighbors. But that day, he went next door, knocked on Zed and Sarah's door. And Sarah came to the door and she was not pleased to see him. He said, hey, I'm your neighbor, Mr. Tahini. I know you, Mr. Tahini. I happened to notice you yesterday when you skipped through my property. She said, yes, we have to walk through your property. He said, well, no, I want to know, what did you do? Y'all look all young and you look different. There's been a change. So Sarah went to tell him, he said, we've been blessed, Mr. Tahini. We've been blessed by God. We went up into the woods and we found this water that was really, really amazing. And we drank of the water. We drank of that water, and it was living water. And it changed us. It really changed us. And so that's what we did. He said, blessing, I got a pocket full of money. Can I pay for a blessing? No, blessings come from God, Mr. Tahini. You can't pay for a blessing. He said, jingling his money like he was going to pay for a blessing. Now, we all know where blessings come from. He said, well, can I go up there? You can go, but your blessing is not like my blessing, and my blessing is not like yours. I can't promise you what's going to happen. Well, she told him where to go. He said, oh, all right. And he went toddling up that hill. Well, as he was going, Zed looked up and said, Mr. Tahini, please only take one handful of water. Yeah. And so he went toddling up, and he found it. And being a greedy man, he didn't obey the rules. You think he took one handful of water? No. Lapped it up like a dog. Fell out into a deep, deep sleep. I mean, one of those sleeps where you go, and drool's coming down your mouth. He slept for a long time. As a matter of fact, they didn't see him for 3 days. Sarah got a little worried. She said, Zed, you better go check on Mr. Tahini because I haven't seen him since he went up to the water. Oh, that man's all right. He said, maybe some animals got him or something. Huh, he's so rotten, but nobody wants him. Now, Zed, don't talk like that. We've been blessed. And when you get blessed, you pass that blessing on. All right, Sarah, you always right. So he went on running up to the hill, and before he got there, he heard something going. He said, well, now that sounds like a baby. I know it's not no babies out here. He said, I just know it's no babies out here. What is going on? So he went a little further, and sure enough, when he got there, he found this baby, and the baby was on a green cloak. Bare naked little baby, an infant. And said, so where did this come from? And he looked, and he said, this is familiar. And he wrapped that baby up in that cloak. He wrapped that baby up, and he ran on back to Sarah. Well, When Sarah opened the door, she said, "That's the cloak. That's the baby. That was in my dreams." And she took that baby and she started rocking and she said, "Seth, this is our baby. We're blessed with a baby." And he put his arm around her and he said, "Yeah, babe. And I think the house is next door is empty." And he moved into that house next door. You see, that baby was Mr. Tahini, and they all got a second chance. She had a baby, she and Zed, and he had a chance to start over. Maybe in his next life, he wouldn't be so greedy or so mean or whatever. He had the best parents in the world. They were very loving. Now I tell you that story, and it's a fantasy, but it's a good fantasy. And I ask people all the time, what would you do if you got a second chance? And how old would you like to be to start this second chance? What would you do? What age would you go back to? I ask a lot of people.
I
Sissy,
don't know, Sissy. I don't know what age I would want to be. I don't know whether I would want to go back over and do teenage years again. I did not like being a teenager.
I don't think I would want to do that. Mm-mm.
But I really, really liked being like 4 or 5 years old. I'm not gonna lie, that was fun. I had fun when I was little tiny because
Yeah.
especially the times that we lived in, I got a chance to like rumble through the woods and do all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
children today, it'd be too dangerous. But when we were small, I mean, literally, I remember being on my own in the woods for hours and hours. I'd pass people in the woods. They'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, baby,
Mm-hmm.
how you doing?" And keep on stepping. Nobody
Yeah.
bothered me. I did what I wanted.
Yes, yes, yeah. I've asked many people this, and some people you can tell how satisfied they are with their life. Some people will say, "Well, I'd like to go back to 21. That's when I met my husband. We had a good time, and we could live our lives all over again." Some people say, "I'd like to go back to before I was sick, you know, and had my health." I like to go back to. Some people actually want to go back to them teenage years. I don't want to go back.
Well, no.
They said, then I know what I know now, and I wouldn't make the same mistakes. But we do get second chances, and it's what we choose to do with them. Every time you wake up in the morning, that's a second chance to make that day better than the one before. So we have to give ourselves, recognize those second chances and do it. Now that we have this pandemic going on, people say, "Oh, I want to go back to like it was." And you're gonna move forward. You're gonna move forward, and maybe go if you'd like to go back before the pandemic. I would like to do that. But think about it. What age would you really like to be to go back and get a second chance?
I
Use your
guess,
second chances every day. Thank you.
yeah, I guess the only way I would want to go back to that is if my great grandmother was alive. I really
Yes.
miss
Oh,
Grandma Julie.
yeah.
Grandma Julie really shaped my life. Um, the story that I'm going to tell today is called "Who You Be." Now, there was once a man. Well, let's start out when he was a little boy. When he was a little boy, he was one of those little boys who had this great big imagination. Now, people appreciate when little girls have a big imagination or in their little fantasy world and like to play dress up. People seem to accept that a little bit better than when little boys do it. But then when he was a little boy, this boy, he loved to dress up. His mom was a seamstress. His father, well, he left them when little boy was very small. So he hung around his mom's dress shop, and his mom had a box of scraps that she would always throw to the side. She would put the scraps in a great big box. Sometimes she would sell the scraps to local quilters. Then sometimes she would make quilts of her own. Well, this little boy, he loved these scraps because he would take them and he put them on. And one day he would wrap his head and he'd say, "Mommy, mommy." And she said, "Who you be today, handsome?" Yeah. I be a sheik in Arabia. Oh, that is wonderful. And he would tell her all about being a sheik and going through the desert on camels. And then the next day, he might find a piece of yellow material and he'd take that material and put it on his head. And she'd say, who you be? And he said, I be a king. I be a king in Africa, mommy. And I rule over my people justly. And I make sure that the slavers don't come get them. And the next day, he might find a piece of army green and he put it on. And she'd say, who you be, baby? And he said, I be a soldier today. I'm going to guard and make sure no one hurts you. And she said, oh, I'm so blessed. So it got to the point where when people would come in the shop, they thought his name was Who You Be. But it wasn't. His name was actually Bernard. But they would all say, who you be? How you doing today? He said, I be my mommy's baby today. And he'd be wrapped up in a piece of silk. So as he grew older, he started to sew along with his mom. And he became really good at it. So good, he decided to become a tailor. And he would make clothes for the men who would come in from town. So his mother's business doubled because she had the dress shop and she had a tailor shop now too because of her wonderful son. And they would always call him Who You Be. They say, Who you be? What's up? He said, today I'll be your dream, man, because I'm going to make you a suit that's going to make you look so sharp, you're going to be able to get business anywhere. Well, he got sooner or later, his mom started to feel her age and she was tired because she had worked really hard to make a life for them. And Who You Be told his mom, don't worry about it, sweetie, because I'm going to take you to Hollywood. She said, now, son, why are we going to Hollywood? Because I'm going to be Taylor to the stars. And she said, okay, Who You Be. And sure enough, his suits were so fashionable and so wonderful, and he studied so well that he did do that. He took his mama to Hollywood. And before his mother closed her eyes for the last time, everything that her son said that he would be, he was. He was a tailor to the stars. He guarded her life and made sure that she had a good life. He was her king. Even though she never remarried, he made sure that he took care of her and made sure she had a good life. He was her sheep because when they went through the desert of bad times, guess what? He made sure that she was protected and guarded. And Who You Be, Brother Bernard, he became the greatest tailor that you ever want to see. So if you look at some of those Hollywood films and you see that there is some razzmatazz to those suits, that might be Bernard's hand that you see who stitched it all up. So when you have a child who uses their imagination and can be different every time, encourage them like mama did, because you never know who they be.
Yeah. Yeah. That is
Now,
so nice.
it's true though. I think that a lot of times people get scared, especially when boys, we still have a lot of homophobia in our community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they see boys who want to do something um, that's unconventional for boys to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or if they see girls who want to do things that are unconventional, like I know little girls who say, I never want to have babies. People look at them like they're crazy. You don't want to have babies? And they're like, no. And it's not that they don't like children or they don't care, but it's just that maybe that's not where their heart lies. But anything that our children want to do that is positive and uplifting and is not hurting anyone, we should encourage.
Encourage them. Mm-hmm.
Things that we encourage other behaviors that aren't too hot. We should encourage good behaviors. There's nothing wrong with a young boy having an imagination or liking fabric or liking to dress up. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make them any less of a person. And we as parents have to encourage them. When we see that our children love something, and like I said, as long as it's nothing that hurts nobody, we need to encourage them. Asha?
Ashe. Like your granddaughter, like Skylar.
Oh yes.
She's
Skylar is
going to be a
wonderful.
dancer and a singer, and she's going to be a mathematician. She's going to be all that.
And she likes to
Oh,
fix things.
yes. Yeah.
She wants tools like daddy.
Yep. Yep. And Malachi, my grandson, right now he's on the kick. He's going to be an architect, and he makes all these things. He makes little cities and makes them work and everything. One time he wanted to be a fireman because he used to pass the fire trucks every morning on the way to school, and they'd let him sit in the fire truck and play like he's a fireman. But whatever he wants to be, just let him be. Let them be, because you don't know who they be.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and that's the whole thing. There was a time if you were an African American child and you said you wanted to be, say, you wanted to be an artist, your mother and father would look at you all sideways, talk about artists don't make enough money
Right.
to do
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But artists can make money and you can use your art to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can teach. Teaching is still a noble, wonderful, stable profession.
Yes.
Um, you can use that art to do interior design.
Mm-hmm.
You can do
Mm-hmm.
that art, like you said, to become an architect.
Mm-hmm.
We should
Mm-hmm.
never, look spit on our children's dreams. Their dreams are not our dreams. They have their
Right.
own dreams, and we
Right.
need to respect those. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what the mom did in Who You Be.
Yeah.
She respected her son, what he wanted to do. She wasn't afraid. Oh my goodness, my son likes cloth, and that means that he might be gay. Oh my gosh,
Mm-mm. Yeah. Uh-uh.
And even if he was,
So what?
because that doesn't have anything to do with a good character and love. We
Mm-hmm.
need to love our children for who they are. We need to encourage them. A lot of times we wind up pushing our children into paths that they never even thought of.
And then they're
Because,
unhappy.
yeah, because we make them lie about who they really are. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we need to encourage them so we really know who they are,
Yes.
who they be.
I wonder what Barack Obama said when he was a boy, when his mom said, "Who you be?" Did he say, "I be the president"?
Yeah, you do kind
Our
of
kids
think.
can take that dream now. Our girls and our boys, they can take that dream. That was unheard of years ago.
Oh yeah, but we do have to encourage. This is these are. I'm going to read you two poems. The first one I actually wrote because a little brother was calling me. I have a lot of young ones who are my little baby boos, and this one young brother, he was really lamenting about not finding the girl of his dreams. This here is for my brother boos who have I need a girl boos. You don't really need a girl boo. You need to get your life true. The player game isn't really love, because playing games isn't real, my love. So this is for my brother boos who have I need a girl blues. Love yourself, boo, and be true. Asha.
Ashe.
Now,
Ashe.
the next one is for my little girls who complain about their hair. Now, there is always going to be somebody who got something to say about an African American woman's appearance.
Mhm.
The unfortunate thing, I know that when I was growing up, my grandmother, not my great grandmother, Julie, but my grandma, the general, who died about a year ago today. Um, in fact, she died on a coma day, which is February the 13th, which is Black Love Day. And I always said that it was the first time in years she got a chance to spend Valentine's Day with her booze. It was nice. Um, but she and I would always fight about my hair. I loved my fro growing up. You'll see my fro again, honey. Trust me, because mama likes her fro. Today we got our bonnet, but normally mommy can rock that fro. But she would always talk about, you ain't walking around here with no nappy head around me. We're always told that our hair is an issue. But our hair isn't the issue. The issue is what's underneath our head, our brain.
Yes.
When you get distracted by all the things that they want to say about your hair, about your appearance, about your skin, about your body shape. I have a friend, and he is a friend, but he said he's a European American young man, and he asked me one day, do you think that Latino and African American girls are more mature sexually at ages 8, 9, and 10 than European American girls or girls who are of Asian descent? I said, no, they're all little girls. And I said, now, do we have to talk to our little girls more and earlier than maybe those other two cultures do? Oh, yes, we do. And the reason why we do have to talk to them about more adult things is because of the way society represents them. A lot of times, like little African American girls, they reflect their mothers. You know, mama got booty, baby girl got booty. If mama got those thick thighs, baby girl got them thick thighs. And they're sexualized by others. And because they're sexualized by others, a lot of times our girls get approached in very adult ways when they're just little girls. And they feel uncomfortable about it, but they take that uncomfortableness as being romantic, or it's romanticized, but it isn't. You know, little girls should be able to be little girls, no matter what the color of their skin is or the makeup of their body. But that happens a whole lot. And it not only happens to our girls, though, it happens to our boys too, because of how mature their bodies are, seem to be. But you can have curves and thick thighs and stuff when you're like 6 years old. You're still 6, though. You're 6. In your mind, in your makeup, you've only been on earth for 6 years. And that shouldn't be turned into something that other people consider an object of lust. And when I talked to him, I was explaining to him, you know, to even think that, you need to get that out your mind, because they aren't more mature at all. They're still those same little kids. They're just like your little kids. So when you look at them, you have to look at them like, she's the same age as my precious child is. I can't look at her like that. I'm wrong if I look at her that way. That really took me aback, but I mean, I've even heard African American men say the same thing, and I'm just like, are you serious? That's a baby. You know, and that's the whole thing. We need to stop looking at the outside and really get to know somebody before we even get those ideas in our head. But like I said, our society actually encourages that. So we as parents have to safeguard our children, but we also as adults have to get our minds right. You know? And it does. It takes you aback when you think about that, right, sis?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Mm-hmm. Even in how you made me think about all these little girl beauty pageants where they sexualize them before they're old enough. They're putting this lipstick on and earrings and teaching them how to do the walk and all of that. You know, let our children be children. It doesn't last long, you know, so let them have it while they got it, you know.
Yeah. And we do have to be really careful of that. We have to be careful of letting other people do it. And we have to be careful about, again, we have a big influence on our children. Just,
Mm-hmm.
just like in Who You Be, we have a real big influence on it. We're kind of the gatekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is my poem. It's called Nappy Curls. Hey, sister girl with them short nappy curls. Why you looking like you want to break all the rules? Why you making that negative face at him? Stop acting like a rock when you know you're a gem. Hey, sister girl with that banging little fro, thinking about things that you can't ever know. I see that book written right there in your head. Go write for the world instead. Hey, sister queen with those long regal locks. Don't let them call you something that you know you're not. Don't let their ignorance get a sister down. Gather your courage. Straighten your crown. Hey, sister girl, rocking that weave. Just because you like it, it's not to deceive. Don't be afraid to be just how you are. Your beautiful mind is what makes you a star.
Yeah.
And
Wonderful.
that's the whole thing. We do need to do that.
Mhm.
We need to stop projecting our baggage on children. The way I always used to put it in my classes when I talked to
Mhm.
when I used to talk to parents, one of the things that I used to say to them all the time is we all come here with a suitcase that is mostly empty. But we have some genetic stuff in there. It's stuck in there. We may have some of what our ancestors' attitudes. We may have some other stuff in there. And that's all well and good too. But what we need to do is we need to realize that we can't put stuff in our children's suitcases. We just can't do that. You okay, sis?
Yeah, my phone was interrupting. Couldn't get it off, so I threw it
Okay.
away.
Well, going back to the suitcase analogy, as things go through, we put a lot of stuff in our children's suitcase and we make
Yes.
their suitcase big because we put things like our own prejudice, our own fears, the experiences that we had that were bad. We put them in our children's suitcase. We stuff a whole bunch of stuff in their suitcase. What we have to start doing is we have to stop putting things in our children's suitcase. It's hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard because we can only go from our own experiences as parents. And we have a lot of stuff from our parents in our suitcase too by the time we're grown. So the way we deal with that is we help them unpack.
Yes.
Talk to them all the time. You know what, baby? I know that you're concerned because you got a big booty. Ain't nothing wrong with having a big booty. That's your booty. That's how God made you. There's nothing wrong with that. Breasts. Breasts seem to be the thing with a lot of African American women. If you have big ones, you wish that you could just cut them off because people keep staring. They talk to your boobs and not talk to you. If you got little ones, then you're like, well, why didn't I get any at home? You know, and it's bad enough during teenage years when you feel that way. But if you start to feel that way and you like 8, 9, and 10, there's a problem. That means that someone has made you feel weird about your body. I mean, we all go through that feeling weird about our bodies because come on, let's face it. When you're a teenager, when you first start to become a teenager, all kinds of weird stuff happens. Hormones make your pits sweat. You start getting these odors that no deodorant will help you with. Get your cycle. Boys, all of a sudden they go from having maybe these high pitched voices to this real low voice, and they feel some type of way. And see, that's the whole thing. We have to help them unpack their suitcase when it comes to that. But we have to build that trust when they're younger to be able to do that. And that's what those poems were about. Is thinking helping our children to unpack all that stuff, because society has put that in their suitcase, and it's part of Black history. Explaining to them the history of this stuff and why people are acting the way they are acting. Not believe in the hype, not believe in the press about Black youth. Oh, Black youth, they're angry and they're terrible and they're this, they're that. All Black people are angry and they hate people if their skin is light. And then, oh, people who have dark skin are hateful, nasty, mean people who go around robbing and stealing. And that's what society tells our children. They may not tell them that outright.
But in our movies,
In our movies, in the press.
our music,
Yeah. And that's the whole thing, is helping your children to fill their suitcases with positive things that will encourage and will inspire, instead of negative things that will discourage and make a child feel hopeless. So Black History Month is important, but it should be Black History 365.
yes, yeah.
You
It should
know,
be
just
about 365 too.
yeah.
Yeah. Because part of that Black history is how you show love.
Oh, Ashe, Ashe. Oh,
Mhm.
my new coffee cup.
I still got my old one. That is so pretty.
Yeah, this is my teacup. Again, for my birthday, I treated myself to a lot of tea related things. It has a lid to it, and it has a strainer.
Yes.
I don't know, I had to get you one too, Sissy, so that we
Yeah.
can.
You know what I treated myself to that was tea related is a bamboo tea holder because I have so many different teas. You can I could show it to you. It's this tall, and you can put like my father would say 50 leaden teas in it, and you just go and reach in and get the kind of tea that you want. And I think that was a very nice gift for myself. I'll bring it on the next time.
Yeah, and you know what? We need to get ourselves love gifts.
Yes.
I want to go before we leave off. I want to tell you that I want to tell all my sisters and brothers who hate Valentine's Day, because there's a whole bunch. I heard so many negative Valentine's Day things. And then I heard some sisters who turned it around into Galentine's Day or Palentine's Day,
Hmm.
where they just encouraged each other. It could even be self-love day.
Yes.
I stopped calling it Valentine's Day a long time ago. I call it Love Day. And it's to whoever you love. Um, I think that it's lovely that we can set aside a day to show love to each other. When I see people fight about gifts, the worst fights I've ever seen between couples happen either on or around Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Hmm.
And I think that that is horrible, first of all.
Mm.
And if people really think that's the work of the devil don't want us to love each other and don't want us to show kindness. And it's not about gifts. It's not about the gift giving or gift chasing. It really is about encouraging one another and loving up on one another and showing appreciation. I call my daddy, I call everybody that I could think of and wish them happy love day, because we do need that. Sometimes I think that on Valentine's Day or on Love Day, we need to find somebody that we haven't talked to in a long time.
Yes.
I just called you to tell you I love you. What? I
Hmm.
just called to tell you I love you. That's all.
Hmm.
And I hope that you're having a wonderful day too. I think that that could be done anytime. Just because day is what I used to call it with my children. I'd be like, oh, we're playing hooky today. Why, mom? It's just because day. We'd stay home. I worked for the school district. I did, but I would take that day and we would stay home. We would sleep in. I'd make my babies pancakes with chocolate chips in them. We'd watch old movies and stuff. We'd eat popcorn. The children got a chance to pick whatever they wanted to eat for the day. We would order food out and stay inside and cuddle and read out loud to each other and just enjoy each other's company and rest, because my kids used to have to get up real early in the morning and go. We would get them up early in the morning and do things. We would pray that day. We would just take the time to do family building things. We have to slow down, people. We can't let pursuing cash or anything else come before
Or
peace and love. That's why a lot of people during the pandemic had a hard time being home with their children. They didn't know them.
right, right.
You know, they didn't know their little angels. I know this one mother made me laugh. She was very sincere. She said, I used to be so angry at the teacher because the teacher would tell me how much of a little booger my child was in class. And I'm like, my baby don't act like that. And da, da, da. He loves to learn. Da, 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 da. Well, honey, she said, getting him up and getting him on Google Classroom and stuff like that. And she saw how much of a little booger he really was. And she said, I had to call up his past teachers and say, I'm sorry. And she said she realized that there was work that she had to put into this child that she hadn't been doing, because she thought these folks were just being mean to her child. But she sees what kind of a challenge it is. And I mean, hey, look, we all need to open our eyes and realize, the way to get to know our children is to hang out with them. No, not all the time, because our children need their time too, to themselves. But we need time with them to get to know the kind of people that they are. And we also have to step into realism. We all know the child that we have that's an angry child. We all know the child that we have that is a little so-and-so. We all know the child that we have that's a sweetie pie. We all know the child that we have is dramatic. We know our drama mamas and papas. We know the ones that have the big heart. We know the ones that will do anything and that want all the attention. We know who they are. And we have to realize that that's who they are, and to help them with their adjustments that they need. And that all comes from getting to know them. And getting to know anybody takes what? Time. Relationships take work. And it's
Yes, they
not just
do.
love relationships.
Yes, they do.
Well, Sissy, are we ready to end our tea and stories?
Huh?
Are we ready to end our tea and stories?
Well, I guess so, but we'll be back soon. And it always makes me think of more stories, and it always gives me a chance to drink more tea and to be with my sister and to be with all of you. So please tune in and see us again real soon, maybe in a
Okay.
couple of weeks.
Hey,
Here's to
Sissy.
Mm.
Take care, family.
Take care.